Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at another law that should be familiar to you from geometry. This is called the law of cosines. And again, it says in any triangle, so it doesn't have to be a right triangle, given this condition of side angle side or side side side, you can then find any missing angle or missing side by following this law of cosines. So again, keep in mind, if you take a look at your picture here, the capital letters are your angles and the lowercase letters are your side lengths. So it says c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab times cosine c. Now, a lot of times people ask, how do you know what your A, B, and C are? The important thing to keep in mind here is that if you take a look at this law that we're writing out for you, C squared is the length of the side across from the angle that you have. That's the important relationship. So if you're looking to find the angle, then you need to know the side across from it. You square that and set that equal to everything else. Therefore, A and B just become your other two sides. Now, if you're looking to find the length of side C, then you need to know the measure of the angle across from it. So that's the important relationship. And I think that will make sense here as we jump into some examples. So let's use the law of cosines, first of all, to find the measure of a side length. So in other words, here's our condition of side angle side. Now, if you take a look here, here's our angle. It's the side across from it that we're looking to find. So that's actually the side that we're going to start off by squaring and set equal to everything else. Now, it doesn't matter what the other two sides are. We're going to square those and add them. So we have 16.8 squared plus 21.4 squared minus 2 times 16.8 times 21.4 times the cosine of that angle that's across from the side we're trying to find, which is cosine 71. Now, this is one humongous problem that our calculator can just chew up and spit out for us. So let's go to our calculator here and make sure we have everything plugged in. So here we go. All right, we got everything plugged in. If I go ahead and hit enter, I get d squared is equal to 506.1. So again, keep in mind this is equal to d squared, and I said it's equal to 506.1. So I have one more step here. Obviously, I don't want d squared, I want d. So I got to take the square root of both of those. When I go ahead and do that, I'm going to end up with 22.5. So the length of that side is 22.5. All right, now let's take a look at using the law of cosines to find an angle measure. So here's our situation where we have side, side, side. We want to find the measure of angle E. So here's the angle. I'm going to start off by just kind of circling that, putting a little angle measure in there, and I'm going to draw a line to the side across from it, because that is important. That needs to be the side that I square and set equal to everything else. So there's my 9 squared. And again, it doesn't matter what the other two sides are or how I list them. So I'm going to say 8 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 8 times 5 times the cosine of angle E. So here is my variable now. And if we take a look at this right side of the equation here, I have two chunks. I have this 8 squared plus 5 squared minus this 2 times 8 times 5 times a variable. So I do have to be careful now. I can't just substitute all of this into my graphing calculator at once. I'm going to have to do this one in chunks. So this is my 81 is equal to 8 squared is 64, 64 plus 5 squared is 25. So when I add those two together, I'm going to get 89 minus my 2 times 5 is 10 times 8, which is 80 cosine E. Okay, now again, here's where I do have to be a little bit careful. I'm solving in parts, so I need to isolate this chunk with the variable on it, which has a negative sign attached to it. So I'm going to start by subtracting this guy over. 81 minus 89, and that's going to give me a negative 8, is equal to negative 80 times the cosine of angle E. My next step now is to divide off that negative 80. So I'm going to divide by negative 80, and that gives me cosine E is equal to negative 8 over negative 80. Negative over negative is a positive, and that's going to give me 0.1. So now I have cosine of an angle is equal to 0.1. I'm going to undo that by taking the inverse cosine of both sides. So this is going to give me the measure of angle E is equal to the inverse cosine of 0.1. So let's go to our graphing calculator here. We'll take the second function, cosine of 0.1, and this will give us our angle measure of 84 degrees. All right, so the measure of angle E, we say, is 84. All right, let's take a look at one more example here together. It says, suppose that you have two straight roads that meet in Zeeland at an angle of 38. Hudsonville is 11 miles down one road. Borculo is 5 miles down the other. Got to get to that Dandelion Festival. How far apart are Hudsonville and Borculo? So I'm going to start with my drawing here, Zeeland, and I'm going to come 5 miles to Borculo, 11 miles to Hudsonville, and there's Hudsonville. And this is a 38-degree angle. I want to know the distance between these two, Hudsonville and Borculo. So what is BH? So again, I have this side angle side condition. This tells me my law of cosines. And I'm going to start off by saying my side squared that I'm trying to find, x squared in this case, we'll call that x, is equal to 5 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 5 times 11 times the cosine of 38 degrees. And again, this one, when we're trying to find the side length, is a really nice problem because I can just put that all into my calculator at one time and have my calculator spit that answer out. So let's go to that calculator here. I'm actually going to do the square root to start us off. So here we go. Here's my square root. And I'm going to say my 5 squared okay, let's just make sure I have all my entries in there. I have 5 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times 5 times 11 times the cosine 38. I'm taking the square root of all of that one time. So x is going to be equal to 7.7. So 7.7 miles between Borculo and Hudsonville.